When a person possesses definiteness of purpose, they are no longer at the mercy of circumstance, opinion, or fear. The mind, once fixated on a clear and burning desire, becomes a magnet for the resources, opportunities, and people required to fulfill that desire. Without a clear purpose, life becomes a wandering journey, a meandering river that flows wherever the landscape takes it. But with a definite aim, one becomes like a river dammed and channeled, with all energy flowing in a single direction, powerful, unstoppable, and inevitable. The moment you decide exactly what you want from life, and more importantly, why you want it, you begin to draw unseen forces into your service. The human brain is a remarkable instrument. It will hunt, analyze, adapt, and overcome every obstacle in its path if it is given a specific target. The subconscious mind, which influences most of our daily behavior and emotions, cannot operate effectively in a fog of uncertainty. But once it is given a mission, a clear, emotionally charged goal, it begins working day and night to bring that reality into being. It opens the senses, heightens intuition, and tunes your awareness to recognize every thread of opportunity around you. Most people fail not because they lack talent, resources, or intelligence, but because they have never made a firm decision about what they truly want. They drift through life responding to conditions instead of creating them. They settle for mediocrity not because they lack the capacity for greatness, but because they never took the time to define what greatness would mean for them personally. They confuse activity with achievement and let distractions replace discipline. But for the person with definiteness of purpose, distractions hold no power. The world can offer temptations, setbacks, and even chaos, but none of it can sway the individual who has burned the bridge behind them and is committed fully to a specific outcome. There is something inherently magnetic about a person who knows what they want. People are drawn to clarity, the marketplace rewards it, life in its own mysterious way yields to it, decision is the threshold between thought and reality. When a person decides with full conviction, they cross from the realm of wishing into the realm of creation. Indecision invites delay and failure, but a decision backed by passion and clarity invites momentum, and momentum, once established, has a force of its own. Imagine two people standing at the base of a mountain. One is unsure of the path, uncertain of why they're even climbing. The other knows exactly which summit they are reaching, has studied the terrain, and is fueled by a deep emotional reason for conquering it. When the wind picks up, when the trail becomes steep, and when fatigue sets in, who is more likely to press on? The one who climbs with purpose will continue long after the one who climbs without direction has turned back. Purpose is the fuel that endures when motivation fades. It is the reason that carries you forward when every muscle and thought begs for retreat. To possess definiteness of purpose is to set a psychological blueprint for your life. You begin to say no to what doesn't align with your mission. You conserve your energy, your time, and your emotional bandwidth for what truly matters. You start making choices not based on comfort, but based on alignment. Every decision becomes a test. Does this move me closer to my goal or further away? With this kind of focus, the noise of the world fades, and your inner compass grows louder. Some people wait for conditions to be perfect before they decide. But definiteness of purpose is not born from perfect conditions, it creates them. Once you decide, the world begins to shift. People who can help you start appearing. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming begin to shrink. New ideas emerge from unexpected places. This isn't magic, it's the result of a mind that has been given a single, meaningful task to solve. Your thoughts are no longer scattered in 1,000 directions. They are concentrated like sunlight through a magnifying glass. And anything subjected to concentrated energy over time must eventually give way. Consider the stories of people who changed the course of history, disrupted industries, or achieved feats that once seemed impossible. In every case, the beginning of their journey was a decision to pursue something specific, something worthy of sacrifice, something clear and unshakable. Their circumstances may have been humble, their resources limited, but their purpose was not. They knew what they wanted, and they refused to let anyone or anything deny them that outcome. The world bends to the will of those who are clear about what they demand from it. Nature respects decisiveness. Fortune favors the bold, not because boldness is inherently magical, but because it reflects a level of clarity that most people never reach. The bold act, the bold speak with conviction, the bold attract others to their cause. And all of this begins with a simple internal question: what do I want, and why must I have it? Purpose is not a vague idea. It is not a dream or a hope. It is a detailed, vivid, emotionally anchored picture of the life you are determined to create. It should be so clear that you can describe it in a single sentence, so vivid that you can feel it in your body, so compelling that the thought of living any other way is unbearable. Once you have this kind of purpose, you become resilient. Criticism loses its sting. Failure becomes feedback, not finality. Doubt has no lasting power over a mind consumed by a vision. Every great achievement began first in the mind of someone who refused to live a life of default. Someone who dared to imagine a better future and then committed to it with everything they had. This commitment was not a vague hope, it was a definite demand. And when the mind demands something with total certainty, the body, the spirit, and the environment begin to cooperate. Even when the goal seems distant, definiteness of purpose keeps the flame alive. It carries you through seasons of hardship, periods of stagnation, and moments of fear. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need to see the next step and to know, without a doubt, that the summit is non-negotiable, because when the goal is non-negotiable, the path becomes inevitable. The greatest tragedy is not failure, but success in things that don't matter. Without a clear purpose, you may climb the ladder of life only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. But with purpose, every step takes you higher in the right direction. And when that purpose is so strong that it consumes your thinking, defines your choices, and directs your energy, then nothing, truly nothing, can stop you. Faith is the starting point of all achievement, but by itself it is not enough. Faith must be harnessed, directed, and applied through relentless action. Belief is the fire within, the invisible force that breathes life into a dream, but action is the vehicle that carries that dream into the realm of reality. When a person believes in themselves, their vision, and their purpose with complete certainty, and then moves forward boldly in that belief, they activate a force within them that nothing outside of them can match. The union of faith and action is what transforms invisible thoughts into visible results. Belief alone, without motion, is like owning a powerful engine with no fuel. It has potential, but no movement. Action without belief is equally futile. It becomes aimless effort, movement without direction, noise without progress. But when belief and action combine, they create a synergy that multiplies the power of each. Faith gives action courage, action gives faith proof. This is the foundation of unshakable confidence, doing what must be done because you know in your heart that success is not only possible, it is inevitable. Many people sit on the sidelines of life, waiting for a perfect moment, for circumstances to align, for someone to give them permission to begin. They believe somewhere deep down that they could achieve great things, but they hesitate. Their faith is silent, dormant, passive, but faith that waits is not faith at all. True faith is active. It steps out while the path is still unclear. It begins while the resources are still incomplete. It takes the first step without seeing the full staircase. It moves, and in moving, it begins to bend reality toward the goal. When you act on your belief, you communicate something powerful to your own subconscious mind, that you are serious, that you will no longer tolerate delay, fear, or excuse, that the vision you hold is worth sacrifice, worth discomfort, worth facing the unknown. Each step you take in faith builds psychological momentum. Doubts begin to fade, not because they disappear on their own, but because you starve them by proving them wrong. Every small success becomes a building block of conviction. The path becomes clearer because you are walking it, not because it was clear to begin with. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. When you hesitate, you give room for anxiety to grow. When you act, even imperfectly, you quiet the inner voices of limitation. Fear cannot survive in the presence of bold action. It thrives in stillness, in overthinking, in waiting. But when you begin, you take back control. The mind, once paralyzed by uncertainty, becomes your servant again, searching for ways to help you, finding solutions instead of problems, and creating movement where there once was stagnation. Those who succeed are not always the smartest, the most gifted, or the most fortunate. More often, they are simply those who dared to act when others hesitated. They trusted their vision, backed that trust with effort, and adjusted course along the way. They made mistakes, learned, adapted, and kept moving. Faith made them bold, action made them strong. They didn't need to know every answer before they started. They needed only to believe they could find the answers and commit to the process of discovery. Many dream of success, but are stopped by the illusion that they must have everything figured out before they begin. But action is the very thing that brings clarity. You don't find your strength before the challenge. You find it in the middle of the challenge. You don't discover the full potential of your faith until you've had to lean on it when nothing else made sense. And you don't truly understand the power of action until you've seen how one small step can alter the entire direction of your life. When you act with belief, you create a pattern of behavior that the universe begins to respond to. People take notice, resources become visible, doors open, not because they weren't there before, but because you weren't in motion before. Movement reveals what stillness hides. Effort uncovers possibilities that passive wishing never could. This is not magic. It is the natural consequence of a mind and body aligned in purpose. Doubt may visit, setbacks may appear, but the one who moves forward in faith cannot be stopped. They may stumble, but they rise again. They may face rejection, but they learn from it. They may fall short, but they grow stronger. Every action, when grounded in belief, becomes part of a larger mosaic of success. It is not perfection that leads to achievement. It is persistence. It is the ability to keep showing up, fueled by a belief that what you want is worth everything you must become in the process. Success belongs to the doer who believes, to the one who takes risks not because they are certain of the outcome, but because they are certain of the necessity to try, to the person who understands that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. That kind of person is rare, not because such faith is unattainable, but because few are willing to pair belief with consistent, disciplined effort over time. You cannot always control how long the journey will take, but you can control your willingness to walk it. You cannot predict every twist in the road, but you can commit to never stopping. With every step, your actions reinforce your belief, and your belief drives deeper, creating an internal engine that becomes harder to stop with each passing day. People may not see your vision, they may not believe in your dream, but if you do and you act on it relentlessly, they won't be able to deny the results when they come. This is the secret behind every major accomplishment, the refusal to stop believing and the refusal to stop acting. The refusal to listen to voices that say it can't be done, including the voice in your own head. The commitment to keep going, to try again, to adjust, to work, to learn, and to keep your eyes fixed on what lies ahead, not on what lies behind. Faith alone is quiet and invisible. Action alone is erratic and unsustainable, but together they form a force of nature. A person who acts boldly in alignment with their deepest belief becomes a storm that reshapes the landscape. They influence others, inspire confidence, and create results that defy logic. They live with a sense of destiny, not because they were chosen, but because they chose to believe, chose to act, chose to become unstoppable. The greatest power any human being can access is the belief that they can change their circumstances, followed by the action that proves it. Each time you make that choice, each time you say yes to your dream with both heart and hands, you take another step toward mastery over yourself and your future. And when belief and effort merge into one unstoppable force, nothing in the world can hold you back. Persistence is the single most powerful quality a person can possess when pursuing any worthy goal. It is the trait that separates those who succeed from those who surrender. Talent can help, luck can give a head start, and intelligence can open doors, but without persistence, all of these are temporary. Persistence is what keeps a person moving forward long after motivation has faded, long after comfort has disappeared, and long after the easy path has ended. It is the fire that keeps burning when the winds of adversity try to extinguish it. Most people give up far too soon. They quit not because they are incapable, but because they underestimate the number of times they will have to try. They believe that effort should yield results quickly, that one failure is a sign to retreat, that rejection is a verdict instead of a stepping stone. But the truth is, no great success has ever been achieved without struggle. The mountain of achievement is always surrounded by clouds of doubt, storms of fear, and walls of resistance. The only way through is to keep climbing, no matter how slow the progress may be, one more step, one more try, one more day. That is the rhythm of persistence. Those who achieve what others only dream about are not always the ones who had the smoothest journey. Often they are the ones who fell more times, failed more times, and faced more resistance. But they kept going, they adjusted, they learned, they endured, they refused to accept defeat as final, they saw obstacles as tests, not stop signs. When doors closed, they knocked again or found new doors. They believed that the breakthrough was just on the other side of one more push, and they were willing to keep pushing until that wall cracked. Persistence is not glamorous. It does not always feel good. It is forged in the dark hours when no one is watching, when the applause is gone, and when the rewards are nowhere in sight. It is a decision made over and over to not give up, to keep writing when the words don't come, to keep building when the results are invisible, to keep showing up when the world gives you every reason not to. Persistence is not about perfection. It is about staying in the game long enough to figure it out. The human spirit is far stronger than it realizes. What breaks most people is not failure, but the belief that failure is final. They experience a setback and take it personally. They are told no, and assume it means never, but persistence rewrites that story. It says that every failure is feedback, every setback is a setup, every no is just a step on the way to yes. The persistent person does not avoid pain, they outlast it. They build resilience not by avoiding difficulty, but by walking through it and coming out stronger on the other side. You may be told you are not ready, that you are not good enough, that your dream is unrealistic. You may face rejection from others, but the most dangerous form of rejection is the one that comes from within. The voice that tells you to quit, the whisper that says you're wasting your time, the thought that says it will never work, that voice must be silenced by action, by continuing, by doing the next thing no matter how small. Because the moment you stop trying, your defeat becomes permanent. But as long as you are trying, as long as you are fighting, your victory remains possible. History remembers those who refused to quit. Every invention, every movement, every breakthrough has behind it a person who simply would not stop. The world is moved by those who persist, not because they are extraordinary, but because they are committed. They are unwilling to live a life of regret. They are unwilling to look back and wonder what could have been if they had just kept going. The person who persists learns to value effort more than applause, discipline more than comfort, and long-term vision more than short-term gratification. It is easy to persist when everything is going well. The true test comes when nothing seems to work, when every effort seems wasted, and when no encouragement is in sight. That is when persistence must dig deep. That is when you find out who you really are. Anyone can run fast for a short distance, but real greatness is built in the miles that are lonely, uphill, and uncertain. When you press forward through those moments, you are no longer just working on a goal. You are working on yourself. The persistent person begins to develop something even more powerful than skill, endurance, and with endurance comes confidence. Because the more storms you survive, the more unshakable you become. You begin to realize that no challenge is permanent, that no failure is fatal, and that no delay is the end unless you make it so. You grow in your belief, your discipline, and your character. Persistence is the training ground of greatness. It stretches you, it humbles you, but it also strengthens you in ways that nothing else can. Sometimes you will move quickly, and sometimes progress will feel agonizingly slow, but speed does not matter, only direction does. Keep moving, even if the steps are small, even if the pace is crawling, forward is forward. There is no shame in struggle. The only shame is in surrendering your potential for comfort. When the journey gets hard, remind yourself why you started. Reconnect to the vision that set your heart on fire. Let that fire carry you through the cold seasons of doubt and difficulty. There will be days when the weight feels too heavy, when quitting seems like the only logical option. But logic doesn't lead to greatness, conviction does, passion does, and persistence proves that your passion is real. Anyone can claim to want something, but few are willing to pursue it long after the excitement has worn off. The world is full of unfinished dreams, abandoned goals, and wasted potential. But it is also full of stories of those who kept going, who turned failure into fuel, and who found a way when there seemed to be none. Every step you take in persistence is a message to the world and to yourself, that you are not finished, that you are not defeated, and that your dream is still alive. Others may doubt you. You may even doubt yourself. But your actions speak louder than any doubt ever could. Keep building, keep trying, keep believing, because nothing is more powerful than a person who has decided that they will not give up. No matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, and no matter how many times they fall. Persistence does not guarantee easy, it guarantees eventual, and for the one who endures, the reward is not only the goal itself, but the strength, the wisdom, and the identity forged on the way there. The ability to control your thoughts is the foundation of all personal power. Everything you achieve, everything you become, and everything you experience in life begins in the mind. Your thoughts shape your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. Most people go through life without ever realizing that they have the ability to choose their thoughts. They react to circumstances, they absorb negativity, and they allow doubt, fear, and limitation to take root in their minds like weeds in a garden. But those who learn to control their thinking understand that the mind is not a passive vessel. It is a tool, a weapon, a creative force that, when mastered, can produce any result desired. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker behind them. You can observe your thoughts, direct them, replace them, and mold them. If a thought does not serve your purpose, you can reject it. If it strengthens your resolve, you can feed it. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is often a matter of thought discipline. Successful people do not allow random, negative, self-defeating thoughts to control their decisions. They are deliberate, they are intentional, they stand guard at the gates of their mind, allowing in only what serves them and ruthlessly evicting what does not. The mind, left unattended, will drift toward fear, doubt, worry, and limitation. That is its default setting, shaped by years of conditioning, external influences, and unresolved fears. But the moment you begin to discipline your thoughts, you take back your power. You start to realize that fear is a mental construct, not a reality. That doubt is only a signal to gather more strength, not a command to stop. That worry is nothing more than imagination misused. When you learn to think constructively, to focus on what you want rather than what you fear, you begin to shape your inner world, and your outer world begins to follow. It takes effort to direct your thinking. It requires awareness, consistency, and emotional strength. You have to catch yourself when your mind wanders into negativity. You have to challenge your own inner critic. You have to build new patterns of belief, optimism, and inner certainty. This is not about empty positivity. It is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about choosing to respond rather than react. It is about realizing that your attitude, your interpretation, and your internal dialogue have more influence over your life than the circumstances around you. Thoughts are seeds. When you plant thoughts of success, strength, confidence, and resilience, and you water them daily with repetition, emotion, and belief, they begin to grow into habits, into convictions, into identity. But if you allow thoughts of failure, inadequacy, or fear to take root, they grow just as well, only they produce thorns instead of fruit. The soil of your mind will accept whatever you plant. The question is, are you planting what you want to harvest? This is where mental discipline becomes essential. You must begin each day with intentional thought. You must prime your mind like an athlete primes the body, feed it with truth, with vision, with clarity of purpose. Remind yourself of who you are, what you're after, and what you are capable of. Fill your mind with thoughts that strengthen your resolve and starve your doubts. Monitor your internal dialogue throughout the day. When fear whispers, speak back with confidence. When doubt tries to creep in, override it with action. When worry begins to build, replace it with focus. Do not let your mind become a battlefield of conflicting thoughts. Make it a command center for decisive action. Everything you allow into your mind matters. The conversations you engage in, the content you consume, the environments you expose yourself to, all of it either builds or breaks your mental strength. Guard your inputs. Surround yourself with voices, books, messages, and people who reinforce your vision and support your growth. Eliminate negativity not only from others, but from within yourself. Your future depends on it. The person who masters their thoughts masters their fate, because when the mind is clear, focused, and empowered, the body follows, decisions become easier, habits become stronger, energy increases, and success becomes a matter of when, not if. The world is noisy. It pulls at your attention. It tempts you to compare, to fear, to give in to limitation. But you must learn to retreat into the silence of your own mind and reshape that internal landscape. You must become your own greatest coach, your own greatest advocate, and your own source of strength. Do not wait for the world to give you confidence. Give it to yourself through disciplined thought. Do not wait for permission. Decide, act, and affirm your power through the way you think. This is how you create an unstoppable inner foundation, one that cannot be shaken by failure, rejection, or external pressure. Every great achievement began with a dominant thought. A thought so strong, so persistent, and so emotionally charged that it refused to die. The people who change the world, who overcome incredible odds, and who accomplish the extraordinary are not exempt from fear. They have simply learned not to surrender to it. They feed their mind with empowering thoughts until faith becomes greater than fear. They condition themselves to see possibilities when others see problems, and they do this by controlling what they allow to occupy their mind. You can condition your mind to work for you rather than against you. You can teach yourself to think like a champion, like a creator, like a leader, but it starts with deciding that your thoughts matter and that you will no longer be a prisoner to patterns that do not serve you. You were not born to be defeated by your own mind. You were born to master it, to direct it, and to use it as the most powerful tool at your disposal. Start where you are. You don't need to have perfect control. You need only to begin. Begin by paying attention, by recognizing patterns, by interrupting thoughts that weaken you and replacing them with those that strengthen you. Create affirmations that align with your purpose. Visualize your success with intensity. Speak your goals out loud. Train your mind the way a warrior trains the body, with repetition, with intention, with discipline. Over time, the thoughts that once controlled you will lose their power, and the thoughts you choose will become your new default. This is not easy work, but it is the most important work, because when your mind is aligned with your purpose, when it is filled with clarity, certainty, and determination, nothing can stop you. Challenges become smaller, resistance loses its grip, and success becomes the natural consequence of a mind that has already arrived long before the body has. You will rise, not because the path is easy, but because you have trained your mind to make the journey inevitable.